I'm Professor Lisa Yazik. I teach in the School of Literature, Communication, and Culture, and I've been doing that since 1999. I got here first as a postdoc. I was on the Marion L. Britton Fellowship, and then within the next year I was hired in tenure track. So I've been teaching here tenure track now for 8 years, and for the last 3 years I've also been the director of the STAC program. The STAC program stands for Science, Technology, and Culture. It's Georgia Tech's version of an English or Communications degree. And so in many ways, we're a lot like a traditional English or Communications degree. And by that I mean we're going to give students all the same research and reading and writing and communication skills that they'd get in any other kind of more traditional program. But we have two competitive edges over a more traditional program. We've been really rethinking the humanities for the new technocultural millennia, and we've been very eager to share what we know with our students. And so the way we've shaped the STAC program, it means that you don't just study the great tradition of British or American literature or just study the tradition of 20th century television and film, for instance. Instead, we encourage students to study all of the different cultural objects that are produced by societies like our own, and to understand how it is that we represent and communicate issues of science, technology, and society to ourselves. So this means that you get to study across genres and across media as well. As you might know, traditionally we've had an English department here at Georgia Tech, I think since the 1920s, so people have always been able to take English courses here, but it was a service department for a long time. And by that what we meant was we trained engineers, we gave them a little bit of culture essentially so that they would be able to have intelligent cocktail party conversations with their bosses. By the 1980s and 1990s, it had become increasingly clear that the humanities in particular and the liberal arts in general were an important cornerstone for all different kinds of education, and that it was really important to produce students who weren't just engineers with a little bit of knowledge, but who might also be liberal arts students who could talk about the liberal arts in relationship to science, technology, and engineering. And so at that point, Georgia Tech had decided to create a college for the liberal arts and then to create majors within that. And so at that point, the English department became the School of Literature and Communication and Culture, and we spun off our first undergraduate degree, which was the STAC degree. New technologies have obviously changed academia in a number of ways. I think what we've primarily seen in the humanities is that it has, in terms of teaching especially, that what it's done is it's really expanded the classroom beyond its sort of traditional physical location and allowed us to carry out the process of learning and discovery in a variety of different ways. So, for instance, although it's still incredibly important, especially in the humanities, for teachers and students to get together in a physical classroom and to talk about the objects they're studying so you can have that sort of dynamic personal interaction, there are ways to supplement that as well. More recently, as we were saying a few minutes ago, I think one of the most exciting things that's been happening is as we've moved to a wireless campus and as students have been asked to bring laptops to school with them, and I think this year all the incoming freshmen have to have laptops. And so what's great is students can bring laptops to class and take notes that way, but even more important than taking notes in your computer, although that's probably great for you guys, what I really like about it as a professor is that it becomes a way to make learning more interactive. Now when everyone's got laptop computers and we're wireless, I say, great, well that's an excellent question. Why don't you go look it up and tell us in a minute as soon as you find the answer. So learning becomes a lot more dynamic, and I find that that actually frees other students to start asking more creative questions as well, because we know if someone says, well this reminds me of this, but I'm not sure when that happened or what this really means, or I don't quite remember the plot summary of this movie, someone can go look it up online and bring it right back into the class right away. And I think it helps people understand how to take control of their own education.